on KC24, your local election headquarters.
I did the math on Dixon's case several times before I hit the send button on that statement, and there is no way that I can figure, or that anyone in this county that I could contact could figure out why he was out, other than he was given time credits he did not deserve.
It's really the part of the story that no one is really talking about, that bombshell statement there in the interview with the DA, saying Dixon probably received time credits he did not deserve, even with taking Prop 57 into account. If that's the case, the Secretary of the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation must answer it. That person in charge of monitoring the time credits at the time of Dixon's release was Kathleen Allison, who has since retired in December of last year, but was appointed by Governor Newsom in 2020. So that's how we roll into this week's panel. We have prominent local attorney and the controller for the Fresno County Democratic Party, David Rao, and longtime conservative talk show host for KMJ, Ray Appleton, is here as well. All right, gentlemen. So, I'll start with you, David. You are a lawyer, right? And
correct.
You heard what the DA said there.
Yeah.
Taking Prop 57 into account, he should have still been behind bars with the math being done.
Well, I don't know how that math goes. My practice has never been criminal law.
Right.
I know that convicted defendants are given credit for time served. I don't know how that is calculated. But I don't really think that's what we're seeing here. I think what we're seeing is just outrageous hypocrisy by District Attorney Smitkamp. I think this is the launch of her campaign for the mayor of Fresno. I think she's just posturing because it gets her good press. And
she used my whole name except for my middle name and said, no, she's not running for any office.
Yeah, has it been your experience that people who are running for office always tell the truth years in advance?
Well, my experience doesn't count.
Yeah,
but
certainly not been my experience.
That's what she's always said, right? So right now, that's the truth. Ray, what do you make of it?
Well, when she was on my program, she was explaining how this is basically kind of a ploy by the governor to go out and preach to law and order groups how the recidivism rate is going down. Mm-hmm. Closing prisons, letting people out early, not having them be responsible for, reporting to parole and all that. So a lot of things get missed. And I don't know that I totally agree with that. I mean, I can kind of see that may be the activity, but I have to say, to what gain, I mean, crime is still crime, it's still happening, and it's getting worse. So something's wrong somewhere.
And I'm wondering, and we've heard about the new legislation this week, there's been proposed, and this is really off of what happened to Officer Carrasco, that there should be a more transparent process when it comes to these time credits. The public is left in the dark. The victims are left in the dark when this happens. Dixon was released, and no one knew about it until he broke parole. Should there be a more transparent process when it comes to these time credits?
I absolutely think there should be. This should be 100% transparent.
Amen.
Another point that I want to make is, if I understand the facts correctly, and who knows, because all I can do is read what I read in the news reports.
Or listen to Sunday Morning Matters.
Yeah, of
right?
course.
Yeah.
And some sources are better than others.
Okay.
Taught him everything he knows.
Dixon was originally charged with 10 offenses, and then 5 of those were dropped by DA Smitkamp's office. And
now,
then
5 of those, a lot of
and of the 5 that were left,
right,
he pled on 3 of them, and the other 2 were dismissed.
Well, so just a clarification, and a lot of people don't know this at home, and I saw, and it's public record, and everybody could look it up, but 5 of those counts was a co-conspirator, and the co-conspirator were part of those 5 charges, not Dixon.
I see.
A name, Mr. Rojas was the last name.
That's accurate.
But
yes.
But in any event, if she didn't like the outcome, why didn't she press for trial on all 5 of the charges that survived the arraignment? That was her office that made that decision.
Ray, your thoughts? When you talk about, obviously you said amen to the transparent process.
Oh, yeah, I mean, totally.
Yeah.
As far as, her pursuing the other 5, I mean, I don't know the other 5 charges. I'm not an authority there, so I can't really comment.
Well, let's get to this. I want to kind of, you heard from Dr. Joaquin Arambula as well for the speakership. Is there any chance that he is actually going to be able to overtake what this caucus has already voted, which is Robert Rivas, the next speaker. If so, that's, you know, that is a big deal for a Valley Assemblyman. Any chance it happens?
I don't know what happens in Sacramento. I don't know Speaker Designate Rivas. I do know Dr. Arambula a little bit. He would be a wonderful speaker. He is smart, he is hardworking, he is dedicated, he is conscientious, he listens to people, he is totally committed to getting things done. He would be a great speaker.
And Ray, you heard it. He's saying there's a divide there with the caucus of the Democratic caucus.
Well,
so
the way I understand it, that lot's already been cast and they've chosen their guy.
that's what we all understand.
Yeah,
but it's not a valid vote until they do it in June.
And apparently it's not a done deal, because Dr. Arambula tells us that people have approached him and said, look, would you consider doing this? And he said, sure, anything to help. So, you know, there are some people who apparently are either rethinking or still haven't committed to designate Rivas.
I want to finish with this. We've heard this ballots behind bars, and it's a Los Angeles state lawmaker that is proposing this, where prisoners will be allowed to vote. Again, proposal. Nobody's voted on it. It's now going to make its way through the Assembly and then the state Senate if it even gets out of the Assembly. But allowed to vote. Some say break the law. Why should they have a chance to make the law? So, is this even?
Already this thing is DOA.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resistance to it, Democrats and Republicans and independents. It's just a bad thing right now with everything that's going on in the state to say, let's give these people who have broken the law more juice. I mean, I was talking to my cohort here. There was a time when the vote was a very cherished thing. And if you went to prison, oh my God, I can't vote. I mean, but people don't give a rat's rear end about voting anymore for the most part. So I don't know how big a deal it is with the prison population. If they had the vote, would they? Probably not.
Mm-hmm. Your thoughts?
Well, I disagree very strongly that people don't care about the vote.
Well, I'm talking about the prison population, not people in general.
I expect that there are a lot of people in prison who are totally disillusioned with society, and that's why they keep going back to prison. They probably don't care about the vote. It's probably just another commodity that they'd want to sell for, you know, personal advantage.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's everybody. And you know, voting is one of the most important things we can do in this country, and you can make a good case that we should get everybody who is qualified able to vote. Now, there's the rub.
All right, what's qualified?
All right, tell you what, you got to keep your rear ends in those seats, because we got another panel segment.